The clearing was quiet in the way only a wounded world could be, too still, as though the Force itself were holding its breath. Jedi Master Wakindu stood near the edge of the encampment, gazing out toward the tree line. Rachel Valor approached him slowly, her presence calm but layered with tension. There was relief in her eyes, tempered by exhaustion, the kind that followed survival rather than victory.
So,
Wakindu said without turning, a faint note of warmth in his voice.
Sasha lives. Blengil did not claim her after all.
Rachel allowed herself a small, genuine smile.
Barely. The extraction was apparently messy, and they lost the element of surprise halfway through, but they fought their way out, led others with her.
She paused.
We were reminded what we're capable of when we refuse to leave one of our own behind.
Wakindu nodded, finally facing her.
That is how strength is forged now.
He said.
Not in grand temples or councils, but in decisions like that. Every rescue, every survival, it sharpens us.
His gaze lingered on her for a moment longer than necessary.
You especially.
Rachel shifted slightly, uncomfortable with the attention, unsure of what to say. He folded his hands behind his back.
You've grown far beyond anything we could have hoped for. There was a time I worried you would never fully return from the edge you once walked.
Rachel's jaw tightened, memories stirring uninvited.
I worried about that too.
She admitted.
The anger came easily back then. Power felt simpler.
She met his eyes.
Walking away from it wasn't heroic, it was terrifying.
And yet you did.
Wakindu said, pride unmistakable now.
You chose restraint when passion tempted you. Compassion when fear would have been easier. You are one of the clearest examples of what the Jedi must become, especially now.
For a brief moment, the weight of war and loss seemed distant. Then the Force screamed. Rachel stiffened first.
Do you feel that?
Wakindu was already reaching for his lightsaber.
Droids,
he said grimly.
Too many, too close.
The ground shuddered as blaster fire tore through the tree line, metallic forms emerging in waves. The quiet shattered into chaos. Alarms blaring, Jedi shouting orders, the sharp crack of energy weapons filling the air. Wakindu ignited his blade, its familiar hum cutting through the noise.
No more time for reflection,
he said, stepping forward.
Show them how strong we've become.
Rachel's saber flared to life beside his, her expression focused, unafraid. Whatever words had been left unspoken would have to wait. The enemy was already upon them. The warning came too late. From the silent void of space, the droid army emerged like a storm, their metallic forms glinting in the distant sunlight as they descended upon the planet. For years, the Jedi and the Sith had hidden in uneasy proximity, each aware of the other's presence but trusting in the planet's dense forests and treacherous terrain to shield them from prying eyes. Now, all of that secrecy was shattered. Panic rippled through the hidden enclaves.
We don't have time,
Master Kalen hissed, urgency tightening his voice as he waved his hands over a holographic map.
Every moment counts. Evacuate the civilians and get the younglings to the transport ships immediately.
Beside him, Darth Malric's crimson eyes flickered with an uncharacteristic edge of worry.
And the Wookiees, they've already suffered enough. If we abandon them...
He left the sentence hanging, but Kalen understood. The massive creatures of the forest, loyal to the planet and to life itself, had no place in the evacuations, yet to leave them defenseless was unthinkable. The Jedi and Sith worked frantically, side by side, despite centuries of conflict, coordinating transports and fortifying positions around the colossal mother tree. Its roots ran deep into the earth, its branches stretching high enough to brush the clouds, and its foliage became the first line of defense for the Wookiees who had taken shelter there.
Keep them alive,
Kalen called out to a squad of young Jedi.
At all costs. We may not survive this.
Outside, the first echoes of the assault began. The ground shook with the synchronized march of thousands of droids, their relentless advance punctuated by the clashing of blasters and the whirring of mechanical limbs. The forests became a maelstrom of light and shadow, with Wookiees charging through undergrowth, lightsabers humming in the hands of Jedi, and Sith red blades cutting swaths through the advancing army. I didn't think we'd ever fight together like this, a Wookiee growled, his deep voice trembling with both fear and determination as he hurled himself into a horde of battle droids. Malric's blade sliced through 2 droids at once, and he grunted in acknowledgement.
We don't have to like it, but we survived together. At least for now.
The battle raged fiercely, and yet against the overwhelming tide, the defenders held their ground. Many fell, their cries echoing among the forest canopies, but the first wave was broken. Smoke and fire clouded the clearing, the mother tree scarred but standing. For a moment, there was silence, a tense breath between storms, as both Jedi and Sith surveyed the battlefield. Kalen knelt among the wounded, his hands glowing with healing energy, murmuring,
"We've bought time, but how long before they come again?"
Malric's eyes swept the horizon, shadowed with movement.
Long enough to make them regret ever coming here.
He said, his tone low and dangerous, though a faint crease betrayed the worry beneath his confidence. Above them, the mother tree's leaves rustled as though whispering warnings of what was yet to come. Somewhere in the distance, the first signs of the next wave began to stir. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid tang of scorched metal. Fires smoldered among the forest's edges where the first wave of droids had fallen, and the cries of wounded Wookiees and Jedi alike echoed faintly through the chaos. Master Ezekiel Wakindu stood at the center of the battlefield, his robes torn, his hands trembling, not with fear but with the raw, impossible strain of the power he was attempting to wield. The ground beneath him seemed to pulse in response to his concentration, leaves lifting and twisting in the unseen currents of energy he projected.
We don't have much time.
Ezekiel muttered under his breath, his eyes narrowing as he reached deep into the Force. Sparks of blue-white energy crackled around his fingertips.
If we can just guide it.
His voice faltered as a tremor of doubt slipped in. Even for a Jedi master of his caliber, attempting to bend a massive droid mothership from orbit toward the planet's surface was almost inconceivable. The sky felt bruised, swollen with pressure, as Jedi Master Wakindu planted his feet against the trembling earth. Above him, the droid control ship loomed in high orbit, a metal behemoth vomiting endless ranks of machines from its cavernous hangar bays. Each descending transport carved streaks of fire through the clouds, heralding another wave of devastation below. Wakindu reached out with the Force, his presence stretching upward, fingers of will closing around something so vast it threatened to tear his focus apart. The ship resisted him, its mass and momentum pressing back like a living thing, indifferent and unstoppable. The strain set in almost immediately. His breath grew ragged as he poured more of himself into the effort, drawing deeply on years of discipline and restraint. The air around him vibrated, leaves lifting from the forest floor as though gravity itself had become uncertain. Far above, the ship groaned, not audibly but within his mind, its trajectory wavering as if the heavens themselves had faltered. Still, it was not enough. The weight of it bore down on him, and doubt crept in, sharp and unwelcome. A shadow fell beside him, sharp and deliberate. Necris, the Dark Lady, her presence as commanding as it was unnerving, extended her own hands, her crimson-tinged aura intertwining with Ezekiel's.
"You cannot do this alone,"
she said, her voice low but steady.
"But together we can. Let go of hesitation."
His jaw tightened, instinct screaming at him to recoil, yet necessity overruled caution. He allowed her power to mingle with his own, feeling the raw, dangerous energy of the dark side brush against the light he had sworn to uphold. Their combined strength rippled outward, distorting the air and sky alike. The sensation made his skin prickle, as if the force itself were holding its breath.
It's heavier than I imagined,
he admitted, sweat tracing lines down his face. Necris drew closer, her presence pressing against his thoughts with unsettling confidence. Her lips curved in a grim, almost satisfied smirk.
Nothing worth doing comes easy.
Their energies twisted together in a volatile dance, light and shadow grinding against one another without yielding. Above them, the mothership shuddered, its vast hull responding with agonizing slowness as though gravity had finally found its mark. The world below reacted as if in fear. The ground trembled, not from the clash of armies, but from the impossible struggle unfolding overhead. Leaves rattled violently, branches snapped, and even the mother tree quivered, ancient roots straining as though they sensed what was coming. Wakindu's knees threatened to buckle as the ship's mass pressed against his mind, each heartbeat echoing like a countdown.
Almost. There,
Necris whispered, her voice a dark caress of power and certainty. Her aura flared, weaving tighter with his own until the air itself seemed to crack. Smoke spiraled unnaturally across the battlefield as the mothership lurched, resisting one final time before beginning its slow, terrifying descent toward the ocean below. Ezekiel opened his mouth to speak, dread tightening his chest.
This could destroy everything,
he said at last, barely audible beneath the rising wind. Necris's smile was cold, unyielding.
Then let it be the price of survival,
she replied. The shadow of the falling ship stretched across forests and plains, blotting out the sun as panic rippled through the remaining defenders. Winds howled with the scent of ozone and burning metal, and the sea below churned as though anticipating the impact. No one could say what would endure when the vessel finally struck, or what new horrors might be born in its wake. And in that fragile, violent moment, Jedi and Sith stood bound by a single purpose, their shared exhilaration humming through the Force. The strain had not yet broken, the outcome not yet written. Even a Jedi Master's power has its limits, and as the ship continued its dreadful descent, the question lingered, whether this union of light and dark could hold, or whether it would fracture under the weight of what they had set in motion. Her laugh cut through the air, cold and sharp, reverberating like ice striking stone.
You were always too naive, Wakindu,
Darth Necris hissed, her crimson aura flaring around her like fire in shadow. From the edge of the forest, the colossal droid control ship loomed, a floating fortress of steel and death, its automated weapon arrays tracking the Wookiee defenders with merciless precision. Below, at the base of the Wookiee mother tree, Jedi Master Kalen and Darth Malric held the line. Their lightsabers clashed against streams of metal and fire, their combined force powers rippling outward to shield the massive tree from the relentless droid onslaught. But Necris had no intention of letting them survive. With a surge of dark energy, she twisted the trajectory of the hovering citadel, pushing it down with the Force directly toward the mother tree.
Ezekiel, help me!
Kalen's voice cut through the chaos, strained with exertion. Wakindu reached out with every fiber of his being, pouring the Force into countering the descent, but it was futile. The betrayal struck him like a hammer to the chest. Necris's control was absolute, her power overwhelming.
No! What are you doing?
He muttered, teeth gritted as the metal leviathan plummeted toward the heart of the base. Kaelin and Malric redoubled their efforts, their lightsabers spinning in arcs of brilliant energy as they attempted to hold the structure at bay.
We won't let it fall.
Malric roared, straining with the Force, but the Mother Tree shuddered and groaned beneath the immense weight of the descending ship. Then came the inevitable. Metal crashed against living wood with a titanic explosion. The Mother Tree splintered as though it were paper. Wookiees were hurled into the air, their cries mingling with the roar of breaking branches and the grinding of metal. Kaelin and Malric were caught in the storm of destruction, their bodies torn apart as they struggled futilely to hold the tree upright. Their deaths, searingly sudden and direct, bore the unmistakable mark of Necris's betrayal. The ground quaked violently under the force of the impact. Shockwaves radiated outward, flattening everything in the immediate area, and the carefully fortified base was reduced to rubble. Jedi Master Wakindu fell to his knees, robes torn by the violent gusts of displaced air, powerless as devastation swept around him. The smoke and ash choked the forest air, carrying the stench of scorched wood and molten metal. Among the cries of the wounded and the defensive howls of the surviving Wookiees, he struggled to rise, but the strain of the Force left him trembling, unsure if he would ever stand again. His mind reeled at the sheer scale of loss. Kaelin and Malric, the heart of their defense, gone, and with them the last hope of holding the base. Amid the chaos, survival became the only imperative. A handful of Jedi and Republic soldiers scrambled to salvage what they could. Sasha Vendark, her gaze hard and unflinching, rallied a group, coordinating the evacuation of soldiers and Wookiees alike.
Move fast! Every second counts!
She shouted, guiding survivors toward the transports. Meanwhile, Tia Luminara and Rachel Valor led another contingent, weaving through the wreckage with precision, directing the wounded to safety. Cole, Catherine, Bardolph, and Riley Shriek followed their respective leaders, the group splitting immediately under the crushing confusion. Each step forward was haunted by grief, the deaths of Kaelin and Malric a constant shadow. Tia knelt beside a wounded Wookiee, her hands glowing with the soft blue light of the Force.
Stay with me,
she murmured, her voice steady despite the chaos. Sasha, standing at the ready near a transport, called over her shoulder,
Get them aboard! Don't wait for the others!
Yet danger was never far. Some ships were struck before they could leave the atmosphere, disintegrating in mid-flight. Others glided silently into space, carrying the fortunate few toward unknown sanctuaries scattered across the galaxy. High above the planet, Darth Necris and the remainder of her Sith minions fled into the void of space, their shadows swallowed by the stars. Her laughter, fleeting and triumphant, echoed through the empty reaches.
You fool!
A chilling reminder that the betrayal had succeeded. The Jedi were scattered, their command shattered, and the balance of power had tipped sharply in the Sith's favor. When the smoke finally began to clear, the forest was unrecognizable. Scorched earth, shattered trees, and twisted metal littered the ground, remnants of a battle that had consumed everything in its path. The survivors who remained on Kashyyyk's surface, battered Jedi, Wookiees, and Republic soldiers alike, slowly gathered their bearings, only to realize a new and terrifying obstacle. 2 massive asteroids now hovered in orbit above the planet, controlled by the droids, forming an impenetrable blockade that made any further attempts at escape impossible. Ezekiel Wakindu's whereabouts remained unknown, a haunting question mark amid the ruins, leaving hope and despair in equal measure. Sasha's and Tia's groups had already lifted off, carrying with them the burden of grief and the fragile determination to survive. But for those left behind, the stark reality set in. Kashyyyk was now a prison, and the war was far from over. in that fractured, scorched world. Survival had become a fight against both the wreckage on the ground and the looming threat that circled above, while the shadow of Darth Necris's betrayal hung over them like a storm cloud, yet to break.